It's time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Well. Greetings, everybody. It's another Wednesday evening, and that means it's time for another episode of the Voice of Indie podcast. This is episode number 213, and I'm your host, Beem Weeks, and with me in the studio here is Mr. Stephen Gies. How you doing tonight, Stephen?
Oh, I'm doing great. I can't believe we're already at the end of summer here, and in the United States, we got Labor Day coming this weekend.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, and school has already started down here. We've already got Friday night high school football games, which means the town's come alive. We're talking drive-through at McDonald's is 700 cars long at 11:30 at night on Friday nights. Party time. But
that's crazy.
I had some medical concerns over the weekend and wound up kind of like stretched out on the couch and was thinking about maybe going in and having a procedure done Monday or Tuesday, which didn't happen. But the result is I had like 3 days of getting nothing done, absolutely nothing done. So sometimes you need to do that every now and then. You been getting stuff done?
I've been getting quite a few stuff done. We've got, we're going to be talking here about some of the books that we got coming out, and but now I get to do some of the non-book related stuff. I got to paint a shed, I think tomorrow, and that's going to take me all afternoon, but I'm going to have fun doing it. I'm going to put my headphones on, crank up some old school metal, and go at it. So,
sounds like code for something.
Going to have fun with it. But we do have a brand spanking new audio book out by Robert G. Williscroft. It is Ran, and it is now available on Amazon. So get over there and check it out. This is really cool. Got some cool sound effects. It's got just all kinds of cool stuff. He sent me an email today because the retail sample is not the one that we put up. We put up our own retail samples, and CX is trying something new where they got something that's got a little bit of an AI voice in it, introducing things. They pull pieces of actual, action out of the audiobook itself. And the thing of it is they tell us not to upload anything with sound effects or music in it, and what they put in there's got sound effects and music. So, but anyway, he wanted me to try to change that out, and I tried. I'm not sure if ACX is going to play ball with that or not, but we'll find out. We do have phone lines, people, and I see we already have a caller sitting there on hold. So if you want to be part of tonight's show, if you got a question or a comment for tonight's guest, or you got a comment for something to do with writing or whatever, give us a call, and you can also go over there on X and send out a tweet or post, as they call them now. Here's how you can do all that.
Call 516-453-9902 right now with your questions or comments for tonight's guest, or post a note on Twitter with hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body of the tweet, and we'll read it on air. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group on Twitter.
Be there. Yeah, hey, we've got some stuff coming out. Sunrise Over the Pumpkin Patch by Carlisle Thoms, who's also the author of Edge of Smoke, and before that, The Calling Dream. Sunrise Over the Pumpkin Patch, very cool cover. It's kind of a 1960s psychedelic Peter Max kind of a look. Very cool story, too. That book is so ready to go here that I just got to finish the soft cover, like maybe later tonight, and we can put this thing up. So probably in the next day or two, Sunrise Over the Pumpkin Patch will start populating at retailers worldwide. And that's Sunrise Over the Pumpkin Patch by Carlisle Thoms.
Woohoo! Also coming soon, very soon, is Journey Through the Lens, Creative Guide to Nature Photography by Angie Birmingham. We got one of the proofs in today, and man, are those photographs stellar? Just
I'm
beautiful.
tingling. I'm still tingling.
Yeah. And she'll teach you how to take those pictures. You can take a look at those really cool pictures, and she'll give you a description on how to set your camera and what to do to take your own pictures just like that. She's going to turn you into a professional photographer. You get this book.
Yeah, what she doesn't teach you is how to get a leopard to come up and pose right in front of you while you're taking pictures. Because she's got some pictures like, really? You got him just to just stand there for a minute while you took that picture? But Angie Birmingham, she's a nice lady too. She stopped by here on a trip through Alabama and visited, and we hung out and had some dinner and identified some birds along the edge of the lake. But she also has very graciously written the introduction to a book called Trains of Alabama by Braden Dexter Green, which is primarily photography, but he's got some essays in there explaining about short lines and the train history in Alabama, some things like that. But the name of the book is Trains of Alabama, Short Lines, Rail Yards, Engines, Heritage Units, Rail Fans, Photos, and more. And that's going to be coming out, we're shooting for about 2 or 3 weeks from now. I'm going to try to time it with Angie's book since she wrote the introduction, and that way we can get some synergy going there and try to appeal to some young people. Because young people, photography, trains, I mean, what can go wrong there, right?
Yeah. Also, we've got a couple of brand spanking new book trailers out. We've got one for I Remember Judy. Just posted that the other day by Verwayne Greenhow. Go over to YouTube, check out the Freshing Group channel, and check that out. And also, while you're over there, check out Miratambo Moonsong by Michael Filippello. That video is up, and we happen to have a audio version of that here. We're going to play right now. So kind of to tease your taste bud, get over there and check it out.
An illustrated fantasy for children, Miratambo Moonsong is a magical and uniquely told story about the clock of Miratambo. Struck by a bolt of lightning at 3:02, the clock of Miratambo has stopped ticking. What will the Zinkle-Quinkles of the town do? The kind Grand Baron who gave the clock to the town many blue moons ago sees what happens and sends a comet to the clock to save it from being silenced forever. When the moon is over Grand Shiloh Rise, will the clock come to life again with music and light and sound? Beautifully illustrated by author and artist Michael Filippello, Miratambo Moonsong is proudly published in case laminate hardcover, glossy softcover, and all ebook formats. Introduce your favorite kids to the Zinkle-Quinkles in Miratambo Moonsong.
All right. Can't go wrong.
All right, Beem, you were cutting out there. Can I hear you? Say something.
How do I sound now?
All right, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay, more books we got coming out soon. Robert G. Williscroft's Operation Bella Redux. That's the 5th book in the Mac McDowell Mission series, which is Cold War submarine thrillers. If you like books about submarines and submariners, this Mac McDowell Mission series is definitely for you. Operation Bella Redux. We're down to the stage now to where we're picking nits, just fixing little tiny problems here and there, and this thing's going to be ready to go, I'm thinking probably about a week from now. So Operation Bella Redux by Robert G. Williscroft coming out soon.
All right. Speaking of Dr. Williscroft, we've also got book 4 in his Star Child saga, the Iapetus Federation. And that is coming at the end of the summer, and we're very close to the end of the summer, so that means coming out really soon. So keep your eyes and ears open for that one, and get out there and grab it.
Yeah, Robert McKenzie's The Chair 5, which, hey, funny how this works. It's the 5th book in the Chair series by Robert McKenzie. First 4 books are out there and doing very well. The 5th book we're shooting for about 2 or 3 weeks from now is an end-of-summer release. The Chair 5 by Robert McKenzie, coming soon. We're going to make sure we let Kathy Ireland know about that because she's a fan.
She is. There's actually a picture of her online on a flight, a cross-country flight, a red-eye, and that's what she read during her flight, was one of his Chair books, and she tweeted it, put it out on Twitter and Instagram, so go on that. We've also got The Reality of Interpersonal Leadership, a guide to leading authentically by Janelle Jordan, coming soon. She's the author of Still Not Enough, Minority Millennials in the Workforce. She's a tenacious go-getter, and she's got the 2nd book coming out, and we're looking forward to releasing that. So keep your eyes and ears open. Get the newsletter. If you're not subscribed, why not? Get subscribed before we send Guido to your house. Get you subscribed.
Yeah, that one's close, too. The book is ready to go. We're just putting the final touches on the artwork for the cover. So, again, another week or two, and that one's going to be out, as well as probably a week or two after that, Loretta Spencer, A Passion for Service, a candid memoir by the first woman mayor of Huntsville, Alabama. That one we've been working on for a while here. The people who were involved working directly with the mayor in compiling all of this stuff took quite a while, and they managed to get it all organized and everything, and we're about to send it to the layout people, but I've got maybe about 70,000 more pictures that have to be edited, because this thing is full of pictures, and I have folders full of pictures, and every time I get through a whole folder full of pictures, there's another folder behind it. So Loretta Spencer, A Passion for Service, a candid memoir by the first woman mayor of Huntsville, Alabama, with lots of pictures. We're going to have that thing out probably in about a month or so.
All right. Yeah, pictures. Those are her memories. So, and it's a memoir, so go figure. Jan Sykes. She's got a new one coming out, book 2 in the Bargainer series. This is A Noble Bargain. Keep your eyes and ears open for that one, because that's coming soon, as is Shepherd and the French Rescue, a World War II submarine type of novel by G. William Weatherly. We got another one from Verwain Greenhall, Dealing with Grief. We got the proof in for that. I got to send that over to Verwain here before too long, once we go through it. And we got more on the way. So we're busy here at Fresh Ink Group. And if you want to know more about all of these books and what's going on here and who's on this show from week to week and all kinds of interesting indie publishing and writing stuff, we've got a newsletter, and here's how you can get on board to receive it.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter. New releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of FreshInkGroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
What? Now, speaking of wanting to know what's going on with the world of Fresh Ink Group and indie authors and indie publishing, we've got a short story contest, and it's winding down. So this is within the next couple of weeks, this is going to be it. So we're really giving this last goal line push. We've got a second anthology that's coming out. If you've got a short story and you want to be part of it, if you're published or not published, it doesn't matter. Send your short stories and put it in that anthology. And here's how you can go about doing that.
Hey writers, got a short story looking for a prestigious anthology that will showcase your work alongside other top authors? Or maybe you've experienced a moment worth sharing, perhaps with some poignant meaning we could all appreciate. Fresh Ink Group is accepting submissions for our second and third volumes of the Fresh Ink Group Short Story Showcase to be released in hardcover, softcover, and all major ebook formats worldwide. There are no fees to enter. Winners are not only published, but are invited to become members with their own dashboard in the FreshInkGroup.com website. Head over to FreshInkGroup.com's Contests tab to learn more. Then grease up the old Underwood and get those shorts down so you can get your entries in sooner than later. And you readers, discover 49 wondrous tales already released in the Fresh Ink Group Short Story Showcase #1, available now in all formats worldwide.
All right. Before we move on, we've got a couple of tweets over here on X. They're not even tweets anymore. I don't know why I still call them that. I guess they're posts. Got some posts over here on X. Both of them by Verwain Greenhall, and he says, the wife and I are here and ready for Fresh Ink Group, Stephen G's and Beem Weeks to talk with author-poet Liz Gauffreau. And then he says, I'm working on a true story. This one is intriguing, this one right here. I'm working on a true story from 1965-66 of a man who escaped Russia and ended up in my town in the boondocks. He told me they would find him, and they did. I was his best friend for 16 months, then they shot him. The Russian guy down the road, out soon. That sounds interesting. I'm kind of curious to get my hands on a copy of that. All right.
Hey, let's talk about the top 25, not the top 10, the top 25 print bestsellers from Fresh Ink Group over the past week. Right now we're looking at, speaking of Verwain Greenhoe, the paperback edition of I Remember Judy, a love story, his memoir about his late wife who had to battle cancer and dementia at the same time. Dave Hooker of Off the Hook Sports, Celebrate 98, the untold stories behind the Tennessee football Vols' 1998 national championship. And Beem, I've got it on good authority. This whole college football thing's catching on and might be coming back this week.
Oh, it's coming back Friday in this neck of the woods.
Ooh, this is pretty cool. So, Celebrate 98 has been riding in the top 25 list pretty much all year, and I'm expecting to see a surge in the coming weeks once college football starts. Michael Filippello's Maritambo Moonsong paperback edition. That's an illustrated book for kids with multimedia paintings by Michael himself. It's a pretty cool story. Nell Cooper, the hardcover edition. Yep, it's the hardcover edition of her first full-length adult novel, Nowhere to Go But Tomorrow. Nell Cooper's got a cool website that Fresh Ink Group is putting together for her, too, and we're going to try to get that thing launched about this weekend or so. So watch the newsletter, listen to the podcast, and if you can't get the info that way, we'll stop by your house and knock on the door and let you know as soon as her website is up so you can go check it out. As We Remember, A History of the Women's Relief Corps of Beaufort, South Carolina by Dr. Najma Thomas. That's a cool book with some restored old photos and a great history, Afro-American history, military history, educational history. How to Paint an American by Andrew McGregor. What's that thing, Beam?
That is a story about a young man who moves to the United States from Eastern Europe because he's curious to find out what it means to be an American. He wants to be an American. He grew up in poverty in Eastern Europe, and it's time to set down some new roots in the land of opportunities. And he comes over and he falls in with the wrong crowd at first. He gets roughed up a bit, stumbles upon some good people, and he overall generally learns what it means to be an American. And it was a fun novel. It was kind of hairy yet in points, and kind of wonder if this guy was going to make it or not. But he did. Made it to the end.
Okay, next up in the number 19 slot by Kenneth Lindquist, we've got How to Teach Driving Behind the Wheel, Lesson by Lesson, the Instructor's Edition. And again, it's the hardcover, so people are buying this to keep on the shelf and use for years and years to come. But what's interesting here, Beem, is the driving book apparently has come to the dance without a date. Normally there's an A.K. Wingler, How to Start Your Food Truck Business in a Various State right next to this one, and I don't see a food truck book on the list. So apparently we've had a couple of days of loss of interest in food trucks. I expect to see those books back next week. But in the number 18 slot, we've got The Chair, Volume 1, Lightning, Thunder, and Glory by Robert McKenzie. As I said earlier, Chair number 5 will be coming out at the end of the summer, but number 1 is up there on the list. And then above that, Operation Counterpunch by Mark Marlowe. Mark Marlowe is an author who lives up in Alaska, and he writes cool thriller material. But above that, speaking of cool thriller material, this would be 1918-17 in slot number 16, Robert G. Williscroft, Operation Ivy Bells, a Mac McDowell mission. Hardcover, Robert. Did you hear that? The hardcover's still out there flying off those shelves or out of the warehouses, I guess is the way you would say it these days. That's the first book of the 5 books so far in the Mac McDowell Mission series. Now, above that, Dr. Helen Burrell. Is it American Agony? No, it's the Hippocampus, the interactive brain book, fun learning for science lovers. It's an illustrated book for children about how does the brain work. And I know everybody knows a kid who's saying, hey, please explain brains to me. But Dr. Helen Burrell, she's got a fun take on it. It's just a cool book, and I learned a lot working on this book. So, 1918, 17, 16, 15, 14, Pandemonium in Puzzle Town by B.A. Johnson. And Barbara, it's the hardcover edition. It's an illustrated chapter book for kids about inclusion, fitting in, getting along, and trying to be part of the big puzzle that is life in the community. We've got another Kenneth Lindquist driving book. This is the paperback edition of the Instructor's Edition of How to Teach Driving. And then above that, for Wayne Greenhoe, it's the hardcover edition of I Remember Judy, your newly released I Remember Judy, a love story, your newly released memoir about your late wife. So 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, that brings us to 11. And at 11, again, Operation Ivy Bells, and it's the paperback edition of Robert G. Williscroft's Submariner Missions. It's the first of what's about to be 5 books. So that's pretty cool that number 1 is still getting a lot of attention and finding new readers for the entire series. Next up, we've got Mr. President, I've Got Your Back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is number 7. This is by Abigail H. Ugini and Mary L. Smalls, both of whom are former First Ladies of South Carolina State University. This is a book about the history of the First Ladies of South Carolina State. Very, very cool. Above that, in the number 6 slot, Celebrate 98, The Untold Stories Behind the Tennessee Football Vols 1998 Football Championship. So, Dave Hooker, that book's continuing to do great. Now, that brings us to the top 5, Beam. Now, we've had pretty much the same books in the top 5 in various orders for the last 5 or 6 weeks. This week, we've got a little bit of a change-up. We've got a David Carroll book in here. In the number 5 slot, I Won't Be Your Scapegoat, David Carroll's Homemade Social Media Blunders. Well, what the heck is that, Beam?
That is a funny, laugh-out-loud book, and when I say that, I literally mean it. Stephen and I were going through it, and we were laughing out loud. It's just bloopers and blunders and things like that from the Internet, and people see signs that on doors going into businesses that are misspelled or the wrong use of a word, and it's just, hilarity ensues. So you're going to want to check that out. It's perfect to have on your coffee table if you're sitting there and you want to laugh. Pick it up. Any page you open it to, you're going to laugh.
Yeah, and check out his other books. We've published 3 by him so far, and they're all fun. They're all a hoot. And Dave Carroll's just a good guy. We like working with him and having him make his own commercials and stuff, too. That brings us to the top 4. Now, number 4 and number 1 are the same title, hardcover versus paperback. So I'm going to hold off telling you what those are. Jump to number 3, which is Mr. President, I've Got Your Back, First Ladies of South Carolina State University, paperback edition. In the number 2 slot, Nell Cooper, you're up there kicking it. Nowhere to Go But Tomorrow, paperback edition of your first full-length novel, targeted for adults. And it's just a cool book. This one was a lot of fun. I know Beem and I both worked on editing this thing, too. You're going to endorse this one, Beem? You think this is a good one?
I already reviewed it, gave it 5 stars. It is a wonderful read. And if you like good, heartwarming stories that keep you on the edge, but warm your heart at the end, you're going to enjoy this one. And we've got a video for it. We just put one up, so get over to YouTube and check it out.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, I didn't mention this, Beam. There was 2 more subscribers on our YouTube channel last night when I looked. So, hey, I had to get up and do the dance. All right, so what's in the number 1 and 4 slot? It's probably an easy guess for a lot of people. Yeah. The gap between the number 2 and the number 1 here is huge. I don't know what they're doing, but they're out there getting some attention again. The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip by Country Music Hall of Fame drummer Mark Herndon. The hardcover edition is our number 1 print bestseller, with the softcover edition being at the number 4 slot. That hardcover, like I say, the numbers are 5 times the number 2 slot, which are about double the number 3 slot here. So I'm looking at some fun numbers for The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip. Congratulations, Mark Herndon. You've got our number 1 print bestseller this week.
All right. Congratulations.
So, Beem, we got a phone call?
We do. Do you want to wait till we take it till after we get the guest brought in?
Is that the only one so far? Just one?
Yeah. Well, we got Dr. Helen on hold as well.
Okay.
She listens. She's on hold, but she listens. People,
we're about to introduce our guest here, and we'd like to line up some phone calls. So call in, 516-453-9902, and you caller who are waiting, as soon as we get her introduced, we'll get you in here and let's talk.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got to flip my page here. Who's reading the bio this week, Beem?
You are. That's what I'm waiting for.
Play me a couple of commercials, and then I'll read it.
All right.
It's 1967, and promiscuous small-town girl Lavella can't wait to get away from her controlling mother to make her own life. She hooks up with Earl, an ugly hippie, rebelling against his rich father. At a time of severe racial tensions and the burgeoning civil rights movement, Earl whisks her off to San Francisco to experience the summer of love. acid trips, a gay love affair, and deep betrayal eventually lead to Lovella's pregnancy with a biracial child that Earl will accept, but which Earl's father won't. Lovella quickly discovers there is more to her mother's control than she ever could have imagined. Sunrise Over the Pumpkin Patch is a rich family saga by Carlisle Thoms, author of The Calling Dream and Edge of Smoke. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, Sunrise Over the Pumpkin Patch is available worldwide in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats.
The stranger in Puzzletown has everyone talking. When he gets off the bus, his frumpy old suitcase simply says Kevin. He looks normal, but in a town where everybody has knobs, Kevin has no knobs. He's too different. Where can he live? Who would ever want to be his friend? Then a powerful force enters Puzzletown, and their world spins out of control. How will Kevin ever become a true citizen of Puzzletown when he just doesn't fit in? An illustrated chapter book for children, Puzzletown is by retired educator B.A. Johnson, author of Sassy Discovers the AME Church and Sassy Uncovers Peter Allen's Secret. Available in case-limited hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. Puzzletown teaches about inclusion in a fun and entertaining way. Published by Fresh Ink Group, Puzzletown has everybody talking.
Woo-hoo.
All right. Now, over on X Twitter, see what I did there? X Twitter. Kind of works a little bit.
Twitter. Yeah.
Over on X Twitter, Verwayne Greenhouse sent a shout-out to Dr. Helen Burrell, congratulating her for having both of her books in our top 25 print bestsellers this week. And I'd like to second that. Congratulations, Dr. Helen. The hippocampus has been out for a while, so it's pretty cool that it's still picking up attention here and there. So, let's meet this week's guest. Liz Gauffreau writes fiction and poetry with a strong connection to family and place. Her work has been widely published in literary magazines as well as several themed anthologies. Her short story, Henrietta's Saving Grace, was awarded the 2022 Ben Nyberg Prize for Fiction by Coe of Plearn Press. I might need some help with that, Liz. Liz has published a novel, Telling Sunny, and a collection of photo poetry, grief songs, poems of love and remembrance. She's currently working on the novel The Weight of Snow and Regret, based on the closing of the last poor farm in Vermont in 1968. Liz's professional background is in non-traditional higher education, including academic advising, classroom and online teaching, curriculum development, and program administration. She doesn't sound like a slacker, does she? She received the Granite State College Distinguished Faculty Award for Excellence in Teaching in 2018, and we've got to congratulate Liz on that because that's a great reward and something to be proud of. Liz lives. Say that 5 times quick. Liz lives in Nottingham, New Hampshire, with her husband. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So to start things off, you're living in Nottingham, New Hampshire. So where are you originally from, and where all have you lived, or have you lived there in Nottingham your whole life?
I was born in New Haven, Connecticut, while my dad was still in seminary. And so from there, we moved to West Warwick, Rhode Island, and then Coventry, Rhode Island, and then Martha's Vineyard. Oh, sorry, missed one. Attleboro, Mass. And then Edgartown, which is on Martha's Vineyard. And I will say that was just an idyllic place.
You think?
Oh,
wow.
Goodness. Yeah, it was just idyllic. And from there, we moved up to Colbert, New Hampshire, which really wasn't so idyllic. And then we moved to Enosburg Falls, Vermont, which is where I graduated from high school. And after that, I married young and was a Navy wife for 20 years. So I lived most of that time in the South, Virginia and Florida.
Wow.
So you've been around.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was just about to say.
Well, okay, New Hampshire, Vermont. Which one's the prettiest?
Oh, Vermont, by far.
By far, huh?
Yeah.
So with all that moving around, what kind of kid were you, Liz? Were you into reading and writing from an early age? Did you find good ways to keep yourself occupied in all these new places?
Yeah, I was introduced to writing by my father because right from the time I was very, very little, he would read to me every night. And I was under the mistaken belief that reading was such a wondrous skill and so special that only grown-ups could do it. And
wow.
when I found out that I would get to learn how to read going into first grade, I was just beside myself. And I remember an adult around that time asking, oh, well, how old are you? And, oh, what grade are you going to go into? And I just announced, I'm going to learn how to read. And oh, yeah, nice. That's nice, kid. No, you don't understand. I'm going to learn how to read. So I was one of those kids who went to the library every week and took out 4 books, read them all, took them back, and took out 4 more.
That was me. Yeah, when I learned to read a whole sentence, I was off and running. I can still tell you the first book I ever checked out of the library. I believe this was in first grade. When I was in kindergarten, they didn't let us check books out, but in first grade, it was Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak, and the cover caught my attention, and I read everything I could get my hands on. We do have a caller, so how about we take this call and see what this caller has in mind?
Ooh.
Okay.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello,
caller.
you talking to me?
Yes,
you
I
talking
am.
To me?
I'm talking to you, huh?
My name is Patricia Guthrie.
Well,
hi,
hello,
Patricia.
Patricia Guthrie. She was just on the show a few weeks ago.
I know.
Welcome.
But I was fascinated by Liz about telling Sonny. I checked her out on Amazon, the Telling Sonny book, and I was interested in her take on vaudeville. I thought that was very interesting, and I would like to hear about how she did her research on vaudeville. Was she ever involved in it? How did she become interested in that?
Yeah, Liz, if you could start out telling us a little bit about the book so that we know what our context is.
Sure. The book is about a young, naive girl who just loved the vaudeville show. It would come once a year to her small village in Vermont, and she was just enamored of it. She falls for the charms of one of the vaudeville players, gets pregnant, and he marries her on a whim, takes her out on the circuit, and she really learns what small time actually means. So where I got the idea was when my dad died in 2000, my mother wanted me to write his biography for the family. So I did that. And one of the things that she gave me was a sheet of lined notebook paper that had just one thing on it. Elliot I committed suicide and had a sister, Dorothy. Elliot I was my grandfather, whom I never met. He died before I was born. But it just seemed like such an odd way to sum up somebody's life. So I'm thinking about it, and the other thing my dad had told me about his father was he was in vaudeville, not for very long because World War I put a stop to it. But he was a cad, and he did not treat the women in his life well at all. So as far as researching vaudeville, I was able to do some online. But what I was finding was that the resources online were about the vaudeville days of performers who later became well known, like, Bob Hope and so on. And where I really was able to get the best feel for it was reading a couple of autobiographies about people who had started in small time. Gypsy Rose Lee was one of them.
I loved her.
Yeah. So that, and I was able to find a lot of photographs of various acts, and some of these acts were really incredible. So I just transferred them into the book.
That sounds fun.
It was fun.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
You have anything else, Pat?
That was my main thing, is just how she did her research, and what made her become interested in vaudeville. I'm a theater person myself. I was in opera for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I get interested in theater.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically the only reason I picked this up. I thought it was. I looked to see who was on tonight, and I got her book, and I'm interested. Actually, I'm interested in getting it.
All right. So see, people, subscribe to that newsletter, and you can discover great books and great authors.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling in, Patricia.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to
always
stay
good
on
to hear
the
from
line,
you.
okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
We'll just put you on hold then. And while we're at it, we have the audio portion of the Telling Sunny video. So we're going to play that right now.
Ooh.
This is Telling Sunny.
Hi, I'm Liz Gauffreau, author of the family drama Telling Sunny. I'm delighted to introduce you to three characters who hold a very special place in my heart. Young Sonny, his mother Fabi, and his father Louis, otherwise known as Slim White, self-billed as America's favorite hoofer. Yes, Slim White is on the vaudeville circuit, and yes, he is strictly small time. The year is 1925. The place, Enosburg Falls, Vermont. A year after her high school graduation, Fabi is still waiting for her life to begin when she crosses paths with Slim White. When the inevitable happens, he marries her on a whim and takes her along with him on the circuit. So why, when the novel opens, is Fabi living alone in Enosburg with Sonny, a mere afterthought to his father's family when Louis is killed in a suspicious car accident? You'll have to read the book to find out. Telling Sunny is available on Amazon in print and Kindle format. Thank you for watching, and take care.
All right. I've got the book on my Kindle, and I think I'm going to have to bump up a couple more books and get started with that. Stephen, you want to talk some more about this book?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of interested in the whole 1920s era. Jazz Baby is set in that era, and so I've just long loved that era. What, aside from the vaudeville connection, what drew you to write a novel about that era?
I guess I'd always been interested in the 1920s as well. Part of it was because that was where the hard-boiled detectives started, which I was very enamored of them. So, I mean, when I was in college, I took a special topics course specifically in the 1920s, and I've just been fascinated ever since.
Wow, there's a secret flapper inside you, isn't there?
Yeah. Now, what was research like? I know Pat had talked about that. You know, what all did you do to research that? I know anything that popped up that was 20s, I went down that rabbit hole.
How'd you keep it authentic?
Yeah.
I think reading those first-hand accounts of what it was like went a long way, because it also was able to give me how people talked, and you know, what was the vaudeville lingo, like the wow finish and other things, and that I think is really important when you're researching a time period that's in the past, is to really get a good sense of how people used language.
Yeah.
Because that's how your dialogue is going to ring true, and how you're able to really take people back in time.
Yeah, that is. That's real important, because you don't want to have them saying stuff that, you know, that's common today. If they're running through the streets of 1927 New York or whatever. I know for like with there's a book out, and I've got it on my my Kindle. It came out after I did Jazz Baby, but I grabbed it just in case I want to do a sequel, which I may do someday. And it's all on the lingo. It's what these words. It's like a glossary of terms from the 1920s. And it's quite extensive too, and it really could come in handy for that kind of stuff. But yeah, and then you got the lingo for, you know, what they said in Chicago was different than what certain terms were in New York.
Right.
So you have to you know, get that situated.
Yeah, phrases like "Look out, here come the Swifties." So let's roll a couple of ads here, Beem, and see if we can get some people to call in and talk to Liz Gauffreau. 516-453-9902. People, dial that phone like you've got something to say.
Yeah, like you're ordering a pizza and you're starving.
Yeah.
Set in medieval Wales during the mystical times of King Arthur, 11-year-old Gavin and his friends are determined to prove their mentor, the Wild Man, innocent of murder. The youngest heir of Pembroke Castle, 11-year-old Gavin longs to prove he is worthy of knighthood, but he fears his own failures, and now he must choose between fleeing and fighting to save his friend. Gavin's coming-of-age story is full of mystery, intrigue, betrayal, and the charms of an eerie witch. Will Gavin earn his knighthood, or will evil challenge his very survival? Read the young adult chapter book, The King's Ransom, Tales and Legends, Young Knights of the Round Table, by Cheryl Carpinello, and now discover the audiobook, narrated by Ethan Drew, with music and sound effects. Produced and published by Fresh Ink Group. Cheryl Carpinello's King's Ransom, Tales and Legends audiobook is available worldwide.
A husband writes about his romance, marriage, and life with the woman of his dreams. Moments of love and intimacy build a strong relationship that cannot be torn apart by her history of sexual abuse and eventual descent into dementia and Alzheimer's. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats, I Remember Judy is a heartfelt memoir and tribute by Verwain Greenhoe. He shares with us the joy, love, intimacy, and happiness of 40-plus years. When his wife could no longer remember it,
where Wayne Greenhoe remembers it for her in I Remember Judy, a Love Story.
All right. Go ahead.
I was going to say those are both excellent books. Just nice.
Definitely.
People go check out the commercials. Yeah, over on YouTube.
We have a comment over here on X, and this is coming from Jan Sykes, and she says, so good to hear Liz tonight. I'm happy I could jump on and listen. I totally agree about keeping the dialogue authentic to the time period when writing historical fiction. Oh, amen. That makes it realistic. Yeah. That transports you back into that era, into that time. One of the ones I'm working on right now is set in 1977. And I was 10 years old in 1977, so I remember all the lingo, and I remember, the music and all that. So I'm having a blast adding this stuff in there. A lot of reminders of things. So
all that lingo. All that lingo when you were 10. Beem, turn off that reading light and go to bed.
No, I used to keep the radio on all night. I had a little AM radio station and used to listen to between the rock station and the top 40 station.
Oh, cool. So we're talking to Liz Gauffreau. She's an author. She's got all kinds of cool stuff out there, and she has a fun track record of being a Navy wife and getting a career going and then bailing on it. What is it that you bailed on, Liz?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Higher education, particularly non-traditional higher education, had changed a lot from when I started, because it really used to be about the learning. And then as time went on, some of the real juggernauts of non-traditional higher ed, online higher ed, really said, oh, well, we need to run this like a business. Well, education is not a business. It's a social institution. And the other difficulty is that so many traditional colleges who were losing enrollments because of demographic changes said, oh, okay, we just need to go online and then we can get some more people. Well, bottom line was too many programs, not enough students. And it just would get kind of ugly with all of the emphasis on numbers. So there you go.
Okay, now, when you're not writing and you're not doing anything work-related, do you have any hobbies? What do you like to do how do you spend your free time?
Well, I haven't had much free time since I bailed, but my husband and I like to go on scenic drives and visit museums and historic places. That's something we enjoy a lot.
I love museums. I've been to so many of them, and if there's a museum there, I'm going.
Yeah.
It's just one of the things. Now, are you talking about like art museums, or are you talking about history museums, or both?
Mostly history museums, although we do like to go to the art museum in Portland, Maine.
Okay, yeah, Stephen and I, because every so often we'll end up traveling together, and there's a museum there, we usually go. And we've been to the Detroit Museum of Art numerous
Institute.
times.
Yeah, Detroit Institute of Art.
Institute. Yeah, I said Museum of Art. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But the Detroit Institute of Art, and there's just, something about standing in front of a Van Gogh. And you can reach out and touch it, although I wouldn't advise anybody to do that.
Nope.
But there's just something about standing in front of a Van Gogh and know that Vincent Van Gogh painted this himself, holding this canvas in France and there's an energy there, a history, and you can feel it. Same way with the Picassos, or the forgetting the guy that painted George Washington while he actually sat there, while the president actually sat there, and you know that George Washington saw this canvas, and there's just an energy there that blows my mind because I can feel it. It's just an incredible energy. And then you go into the history museum.
I heard they used a stand-in for that Washington portrait, though, because Washington looked like Gilbert Gottfried, really, in real life.
Brother Frank. That was his brother Frank Washington.
Uh-huh.
But, and then the history museums, because you're looking at, things that are from a whole different era, and people handled these things. People made these things, and there's an energy there as well.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got to run a couple more commercials here, Beem, and then I want to hear about Liz Gauffreau's writing process, the when, the where, the how, the goals, the methods. How does she get this stuff done?
All right, listeners, we'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or a question, give us a call, 516-453-9902. You can be on the air.
Ooh.
In 1948, 8-year-old Kay is at Oakdale, the Lapeer State Home in Michigan, where people of all ages with physical and mental aberrations come to live. Kay wonders why she is here and if she will ever leave. She cares for an infant who will not let anyone else feed her, and she has friends, especially a boy her age she calls Toe. When Kay and Toe grow close as teens, she discovers the home has scheduled surgery that will change her life. With the clothes she's wearing and the file containing her life story, Kay flees late one dark night. Toe tries to chase after her, but a fateful accident robs him of the chance to seek the love of his life. Will Kay ever experience the kind of family she has longed for? Published in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook editions by Fresh Ink Group, Nell Cooper's Nowhere to Go But Tomorrow is a historically accurate coming-of-age story about identity, belonging, and learning to choose one's own destiny. Read Nell Cooper's Nowhere to Go But Tomorrow.
Mr. President, I've got your back. South Carolina State College was established in 1896 by the state legislature to provide educational opportunities to African Americans. The college is situated on land acquired by the state from the United Methodist Church in 1869. Thomas E. Miller was named the first president. Faced with many challenges and struggles, Miller and his wife, Anna, did an excellent job of moving the college forward and building a foundation for later growth and development. Since that time, 13 presidents and 5 interims have continued to build upon Miller's legacy. Although much is written about the presidents, very little has been written about their spouses who aided them in furthering the university. This book is by 2 of the school's prominent first ladies, Abigail H. Hughini, author of There Must Be Something in the Water, Anthology of the Fourth Generation, Descendants of Green Pond, After the Emancipation, and Mary L. Smalls, Retired Educator Administrator. Now available in case-limited hardcover, softcover, and all digital ebook formats. Mr. President, I've Got Your Back is published by Fresh Ink Group. This important contribution to African American history features 12 dynamic, smart, and innovative First Ladies who demonstrated through their untiring support. Mr. President, I've got your back.
Yeah, I like that commercial. That's got me breezing. I always want to put on my white fur coat and my big hat with the feather and go out, step out on the town. All right, we're asking Liz Gauffreau. We're asking Liz Gauffreau about her process now. Now, Liz, we've asked about 200 different authors this question, and usually we get a whole lot of, well, I'm a pantser or I'm an outliner. So far, nobody has answered with anything involving nudity in their process. Could this be the first time, or you got something else to say?
No, there's no nudity.
No nudity, okay.
No nudity involved.
Are you a pantser? Are you an outliner? Do you chant, burn incense, write 1,000 words a day? What's your process?
It depends on what I'm writing, because the form pretty much dictates the process that I need to use. So for poetry, it's quite different from what it is for fiction. Poetry, it's a lot of just fiddling and playing with words. For fiction, let me say first, it took me 14 years to write Telling Sunny, because I was a workaholic and always put the job ahead of the writing. So that is not a process that I wanted to continue.
Boy, misplaced priorities.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
I no longer feel bad. It took me 8 years from start to finish on Jazz Baby. You got me beat almost by twice as long. So.
Well, I never learned to read, so you guys are ahead of me.
So go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, for The Weight of Snow and Regret, I decided that I was going to take a page out of Audrey Driscoll's process book. And the way that she writes does 1 page a day. 1 page a day. And then after a year, she has a first draft that's ready to be revised. And so I said, all right, I'm going to try that. And I did try it, and it worked. It worked. And then it's a matter of all of the revision. And at key points, this had dual timelines. At key points, I needed to basically do reverse outlining so that I could make sure that all of the pieces made sense. So
check your flow, make sure everything's even, that you haven't left out stuff.
Right. But also to make sure, it wasn't snowing in the summer and that kind of stuff. There was one thing that I caught that my character was wondering whether her husband was working late in his store. And I read it and said, but the store burned down a chapter ago.
It's a ghost store.
Yeah. So it's that kind of thing. And I spend a lot of time on language because I think that cadence is really really in fiction. I tend to write by ear, and there are some times when I will sacrifice sense to sound and hope I get away with it, and I think so far I have.
Yeah. Well, why do you think that's worked for you? I mean, if you're going like a page a day, does it sometimes push you to finish that page and get that in there, or is it kind of like the opposite? Maybe it forces you to back off a little and concentrate on getting that page right, or both?
I don't do any revision at that point.
Okay.
I'm just looking at drafting. And then if I get stuck, for example, I reach a certain point, I can't go any further without research, then I need to do the research before I can move on.
So during your process, do you use beta readers, editors, or others who help you and maybe catch something that might have slipped by you?
I have a beta reader who also is in a writing group that I'm in. And one thing that he and another member of the group caught, and I had to really make a decision, was I had included the old man's draft in World War II, and I had my character, who I think was 41, be drafted. And they said, no, I don't believe it. So I proved it to him. from the research, and then I decided to just rework the timeline, because it didn't really matter if I could prove that this was possible, that it could happen, if readers' gut reaction was, no, I don't think so.
Yeah,
so
if you've got even just that one beta reader questioning something, you got to rethink that.
Yeah,
because
I did.
You want to name? You want to name your beta reader? Give a shout out, a thank you, a public thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Charles French.
All right.
Well, cool. All right, good job, Dr. Charles French.
Yeah. Now, how do you publish? Do you self-publish? Do you work through a company? How do you get this out to the people?
Well, Telling Sunny was published by Adelaide Books in New York, and I had 2 short stories published by them. Editor writes me an email and says, "Oh, by the way, I like your writing. It's very mature. Do you have a novel in the works?" Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. So I sent it. He said, yes, we'll go ahead and publish it. And then the whole publishing timeline, he didn't meet. It eventually got out there later than what it was supposed to. So I kind of limped along. And then once the pandemic hit, he just stopped communicating. He stopped paying royalties and absconded to Portugal.
Oh.
So
you got an address? We're going.
San Guido.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other people who were in the same boat ended up needing to have the Authors Guild advocate for them to get their rights back and advocate for Amazon to transfer the reviews, to their own, to my own ISBN version.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing with Amazon. We've gone through that where we've republished somebody else's work and trying to get them to bring those reviews over from the previous one, and man, it's like twisting arms. Oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. And then eventually some of them do migrate over, but man, it's like banging your head against the wall.
Yeah, what the guy I spoke with told me was that if the Authors Guild hadn't complained, they wouldn't have transferred the reviews. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing that played into my decision to publish on my own is that I don't have the time left in my life to be able to query an endless number of agents. No, seriously.
Most of us don't have the time left to query 10 of them, let alone all of them.
Yeah, and then once, lightning strikes and you do get an agent, there is no guarantee whatsoever that agent is going to be able to sell your book to a publisher.
Or anytime soon, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that process can take years.
The indie publishing world. I mean, we've got the world at our fingertips with the internet now, so we can take that shortcut. But now we have to deal with the marketing on our own, our own budgets and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a caller. We've got another caller on the line, so we're going to take that. This is Verwayne Greenhall. How you doing tonight, Mr. Greenhall?
Well, we're sitting in the dark right now.
Hey, you must be in Florida or Texas, one of the two.
Yeah, we just had a massive thunderstorm go through that's heading right towards you, Gary.
Oh, fun.
Wow, there you go.
It kept thundering and lightning, and the next thing I know, bam, no power. So I switched over to the phone. I was listening.
Okay, you got a question for Liz or a comment?
I was listening to this, and I knew I missed a good chunk of it. You said you had one beta reader. I've got 3, and 2 of them are fairly loyal, and 1 chimes in when they want. But you get a lot of this, oh, it was wonderful. And I tell them, that's not what I hired you to do. I hired you to tear this apart. So, do you have that problem with beta readers?
No. In fact, the funny thing is that I had never heard the term beta reader. I didn't know what it was. When I went through college and grad school, there was no such thing. There was no such thing. So that was a bit of a learning curve. But what I found helpful was in this writers group, I would share excerpts and just get kind of ongoing feedback as I went along, including the, nah, I don't buy it. And so that really helped. And then having a beta reader who could then take the longer view of the work as a whole and how it held together. The other thing that I did do was I'm in another writing group with a literary magazine, and I was having a problem with structure. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to give the places to them and get some feedback on the structure, because this gut feeling, I don't think it's working. And so they were able to say, you're right, the structure's not working, change it.
I'd rather have somebody truthful than to lie to you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, well, thanks for calling in tonight, Verwain. Light a candle so you don't trip over the dog.
Yeah,
I'm just going to stay on the phone and listen until the power comes back on.
All right, cool.
Okay. I'll keep you on hold then.
Thanks. All right. We're talking to author Liz Gauffreau, and we're starting to run out of time here, Liz. I hate to say that, but we've got a couple of more books of yours to cover. Let's do some, quick minute or two's. What is Simple Pleasures? Haiku from The Place Just Right by Elizabeth Gauffreau.
This was an unintentional book because I had never even written haiku. And in fact, I kind of looked down my nose at it, full disclosure. But it happened that my husband and I were on one of our scenic drives, and a haiku just popped into my head.
Ooh.
So, it just popped into my head.
There it is.
And so, I wrote it down, of course, to be fiddling later, and took a photograph of the place that had inspired it and just kept going until I had enough for a collection. And so it's really, I guess, my homage to northern New England.
Oh. All right. Cool when that happened. Oh, there it is.
There it is. I mean, I've got notes, little stick-it notes of all kinds of story ideas that's done that to me. Strike me in the head. Boom. Oh, hey, I better jot that down. What's going on with Grieve Songs? Tell us about this. Poems of love and remembrance.
Yeah, this is another photo poetry collection. My dad died in 2000. And then my younger brother died in 2017. My mother died in 2019. And I was having a very hard time with being the only person in my nuclear family left alive. So I ended up using some family photographs, and the form that really seemed the best for expressing what I needed to express was Tonka. And again, I never would have thought that I would write syllabic poetry, but I was introduced to it mainly by Colin Chesbrough. And this is the right form. This is the right form.
Now, we also see you appear in some anthologies, like Distant Flickers, for example, Stories of Identity and Love. You have 2 stories in that, is that right?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. Now, you're also a member of Story Empire. Well, what the heck is Story Empire? Now, why do we care?
Well, I'm new to the group, and
welcome aboard.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, it's a group of writers that write about various aspects of writing and the publishing process to hopefully strike some chord with people that have questions, and they're looking to either get into writing or they've reached a point where they would like to get up to the next level. So
okay.
All right, so you got some comments over on Beem?
Yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. First one here is Verwain. That's actually from Lisa, his wife. She said, we're having some tremendous thunderstorms moving in here, and I think I need to shut down. The last thing I need is to lose another computer to a storm. We love y'all. Giggle. This is Lisa. But Jan Sykes has 3 comments here dealing with various points of the conversation. Says, wow, Liz, so glad Telling Sunny got published even if it took years. Such a good story. Yeah. And Jan also says, a page a day, that's an interesting concept. That's what I said. It's kind of an interesting concept there. And then speaking about the whole guy cutting out to Portugal, she says that sounds like a publishing nightmare, Liz. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time nightmare.
We've heard it too many times, so.
Oh, I know. There are more bad actors than good actors.
Well, so Liz, here's the point of the show when we ask our guests, have you had any particular fan interaction, a poignant example where you met somebody at an event or got a letter or a review or something where you just felt like, wow, somebody gets what I'm doing and makes it all worthwhile?
I've gotten that kind of feedback from the members of our online community, the WordPress writing community. And what I find really gratifying is that my writing prompts them to reflect on their own lives. Because there's, been a question, particularly with poetry, of, well, is this really too personal, for an audience? And and I've gotten, I've gotten good feedback on that. My poetry prompted people to, think about their own families and so on, and their own good memories.
And that's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and in fact, with Simple Pleasures, really the point of that book and putting it out was I wanted to write something that would make people feel good. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because
the feel-good story of the year.
Yeah, usually I write unremittingly depressing, I'm going to go off brand and do something that's going to make people feel good. So
we could always use some feel good.
Yeah. So Liz, now that you're an established author and you've got some work out there, do you have any advice for other authors, up and coming authors, or those that have been slagging away and maybe feel like this isn't getting me anywhere?
Oh wow. I like to fall back on the advice that I was given, but I'm not even sure if it still applies. But when I started my creative writing program in college, what the professor told us was, do not even think about publishing until you've learned your craft. And I found that incredibly liberating.
That's a great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess a little later than that, when I advised students who said that they wanted to, do creative writing, well, there's two questions that you have to answer. The first is, how are you going to make a living? Because if you get a day job to support your writing, that's one path. If you want to earn your living through writing, that's another path entirely. And then, which I think is really, really relevant right now, and which I think for new people would be pretty overwhelming, is how do you want to learn your craft?
Yeah.
Because there's so many different avenues that are open to people now. You don't have to necessarily go to college for it.
And look how much you can learn from StoryEmpire.com.
Oh, definitely.
Exactly.
A lot of really good, great minds over there. Now, that learning your craft before you publish, I mean, that's important. I've got a Kindle with quite a few books that, you know, I couldn't get beyond 3 or 4 pages. It just sentence structure. I mean, all the things that somebody needs to learn long before they even think of publishing, they're all in there. And these are from years ago, so you know, I be picky now when I download. I'll read the reviews and all that, or if it's an author I know and I've read their work before, you know, that's usually a good sign to go ahead and grab it. But I've got some stories that are just, you know, and it's sad because there was nobody there to tell these people, hey, this doesn't make sense over here, and this is a mess, and get an editor.
Yeah.
All right. So, Liz Gauffreau, how do people find you, follow you, contact you, stalk you? Where are you out there? What are your handles? What's your street address?
It's probably easiest to just do LizGauffreau.com.
Pretty direct.
Yeah.
Okay, it's LizGauffreau.com. And Liz Gauffreau, you've got links to your various social media and things like that all over there?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Great. That's a great way to do it. Again, Liz Gauffreau has been our guest this week. Thank you, Liz. It's been fun having you on for the first time.
It's been a blast.
And it's not going to be the last time.
Yeah.
In fact, what are you thinking, Beem, every other week for the next 3 years?
Right.
All right, people. Now, you regular listeners know that we've been having a little bit of trouble with Blog Talk Radio lately, so we're a little bit tentative about our scheduling. Right now, we don't have anything scheduled for the next coming weeks, but we will by the time you get your newsletter next Wednesday. We're probably looking at Joe Conjal as our next guest, but we got to verify that with him.
Yeah, if Joe's available. He's nice.
Yeah, if Joe's available. But we've got a bunch of people coming up soon because we're putting books out in the coming weeks, and we want to get them on here talking about it. That's going to include Carlisle Toms, Robert G. Williscroft. Who else you got, Beem?
Angie Birmingham, Braden Green.
Yeah, and Janelle A. Jordan, author of Still Not Enough. Robert McKenzie, author of the Chair series. And
Jan Sykes, who was on X tonight commenting. We're going to invite her back on. She's got a new one coming out as well. And the aforementioned Joe Conjal. Like I said, if Joe is available next week, we're going to have him on. So, and we've got a backup plan too. Now, in case this doesn't work, you'll hear about it in next week's newsletter, I think.
Yeah. We're also got Verwayne Greenhouse going to be coming up pretty soon too, because we're working on another book by him. Not to mention a whole bunch more. We just signed another book by Carlisle Toms today too. So no rest for the weary. But again, thanks for being on the show today, Liz Gauffreau. We'd like to have you back again sometime, and we want to urge people, go to LizGauffreau.com to find her, and go to StoryEmpire.com. Click on the blog and watch for things that Liz has been posting over there. Make sure you subscribe while you're there and spread the word about StoryEmpire.com too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Liz, and we'll see everybody next week.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Liz.
Bye.
Bye.
Still Not Enough examines the plight of minority millennials in the workforce. Janelle A. Jordan details her own perspective-molding cultural upbringing, along with professional encounters hindered by others' preconceived notions and unconscious biases. She shares examples that are relatable to many with similar experiences. The scars from every denial fueled the desire for each minority millennial to do more. This book also guides leaders managing today's DE&I employees. Norms are evolving, and organizations must adapt or be left behind. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group in all print and digital formats worldwide, Still Not Enough brings transparency to the challenges of today's younger and more inclusive workforce.
You're listening to The Voice of Indy.
You've been a part of Voice of Indy, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.